Hey, Truth Seekers, welcome back. Zach here. A few days ago, I put out a video on the ritual sacrifice of Len Bias 2 days after being drafted by the Boston Celtics. If you haven't seen that video, it's linked just below in the description. In that video, I talk about the significance of 213 and the deaths of many black men. Earlier this year, Moses Malone, the former NBA great, passed at age 60 just before the new NBA season began. And exactly 213 days after his death, Kobe Bryant would score 60 points against the Utah Jazz. This is interesting because Moses Malone was the first player to go from high school to the pros drafted by Utah. He ended up playing the majority of his career in Philly, where Kobe was born. Kobe finishes his career 213 days after the death of Moses Malone, scoring 60 like his age of death. They both have the connections to Philly and Utah. Len Bias, of course, died 213 days after his birthday. I've talked about how Tupac released his final album February 13th, All Eyes on Me, while he was alive. He died 213 days later. Nate Dogg and the rap group 213, dead by this same number. And it's true for many other people in history. Black History Month in Gematria sums to 213. So if you haven't seen my video on Len Bias, I talk about a lot of information. I talk about how the year he was drafted, the number one overall pick went to the Cavs. The third overall pick went to the Warriors. Len Bias was the second pick by the Celtics. This year, the NBA Finals were on the anniversary date of Len Bias's death. LeBron in his 13th season defeated the Warriors. Think about the Cavs having the 1 pick and the Warriors having the 3 pick. What you need to know is the people who run this league, the leagues are scripted, they're planned out decades in advance. The ritual sacrifice of Len Bias was definitely to the Celtics' recent championship. It might have even been forecast out to what transpired in 2016 between the Cavs and Warriors. I would say it's likely based on what I know from this research. So anyhow, 213. Several people who watched my video on Len Bias asked me to look into the death of Reggie Lewis, the Celtic who passed in the year 93, 7 years after Len Bias. Check this out. Reggie Lewis collapsed in the middle of a game April 29th, playing for the Celtics against the Charlotte Hornets. And look at what the final score of that game was. 101 to 112, a sum of 213 points. Let me remind you, Game 6, it got off to a start like this. 2 for Golden State, 6 minutes into the quarter, and 13 for Cleveland, 2-1-3. And this was just before Game 7, where Len Bias had died on that anniversary date by the code of 213. This is just further proof of what I'm saying. Sports are scripted to the point, they're ritualistic, and they literally kill people by these same numbers as tributes. The game was also played against Charlotte out of North Carolina. I call North Carolina basketball weirdo land. There's a long history of ritual sacrifice in this state connecting to the sport, from athletes to announcers. North Carolina has gematria of 67, just like blood sacrifice. Numbers also often found around death. This is the team he was playing when he collapsed. I want to show you what's so interesting about him falling down April 29th during the game, nearly passing, and then dying months after that. So Reggie Lewis in gematria sums to 65. He was born in 65. Also 74, like Masonic special numbers to the Freemasons. You often find 33 and 74 paired together. Larry equals 74. Bird equals 33. Larry Bird, war number 33. Teammate of Reggie Lewis. Here's where it gets really interesting, though. Reggie Lewis, in simple English gematria, sums to 119. He collapsed April 29th, the game that ended up with 213 points. April 29th is the 119th day of the year. All-seeing eye equals 119. Star of David equals 119. Special number to this gang. Also, this happening in the year 93. 93 represents Saturn, the keeper of time. It's another number connected to ritual sacrifice, tragedy. Reggie Lewis, his initials RL, R's the 18th letter in numerology, that breaks down to 9. L's the 12th letter. 1 plus 2 becomes 3. His initials break down to 9-3. Part of the reason he was probably chosen for this ritual in this year on this date. The date he was born, November 21st, 1965. The date with 26 numerology. Celtics having gematria of 26 and 35. He wore the number 35 for the team. Len Bias also had this 26 connection, known as the God number in gematria. Jordan equals 26. Think about Jordan, how he benefited in terms of stardom from the loss of Len Bias. The date Reggie Lewis would pass, July 27th, 1993, after the collapse, after being ill. A date with 38 numerology. The word death equals 38. From the date of his death until what would have been his next birthday, his 28th, 118 days. Death also connected to 118. Numbers that we often find around death. Earlier this year, these numbers were coded into Vanity's death. And I said, Prince better watch out because he has the exact same numbers. Prince, dead by the numbers. These exact same numbers, 38, 118, 67. Go back and watch my video from February, Warning Prince. I talk about all three of these numbers. They show up in celebrity death so often. These people are not dying naturally. These are rituals put on by very sick people. Where he died, supposedly, was Waltham Weston Hospital. Perhaps all part of the ritual. Gematria of 85, just like basketball, just like Boston. Boston leads the NBA with championship titles. They've won 17. NBA equals 17. Over in the MLB, the Yankees lead in World Series wins. They've won 27. MLB equals 27. Sports scripted by the numbers. He was the 22nd pick. Len Bias was 22 years old. Again, basketball in Boston, the small way, also 22. When he collapsed the day he died, he was shooting at a university in Massachusetts. Gematria of 234. The reflection of 234 is 432. When you add these numbers together, it sums to 666. The NBA Finals in English gematria sums to 666. Remember, LeBron became the first player to go to 6 straight finals since 66. LeBron equals 66. King equals 66. He went on the real King James's birthday. Important numbers. Reggie Lewis was drafted the last year the Celtics won the championship for more than 2 decades after that, 87. The date he collapsed, also an interesting date in numerology. It had a 33 connection. Massachusetts equals 33. 33, a number of sacrifice. Think about Jesus on the cross at age 33. Jesus equals 74. Cross equals 74. This Masonic pairing. Also a date with 55 numerology. Sacrifice equals 55. He played his college ball at Northeastern University, having gematria of 112. How many points the Boston Celtics won with that day? Somebody else asked me to look into this death, 1984, the nation's #1 prospect out of high school for college basketball. His name was Ben Wilson. They called him Benji. Talk about the significance of Benji in the movie Blue Chips in just a second. He died from being shot to death. And it appears his death was a ritual sacrifice, very possibly for Michael Jordan. This happened in the year 1984, when the year Michael Jordan was drafted into the NBA out of North Carolina, the year David Stern became the commissioner. Check this out. The date he was born had 107 numerology. The word shooting has gematria of 107. He also had a life lesson of 44. Shooting the small way equals 44. Kill equals 44. Numerology of 88. He would die 118 days. He was born March 18th, died November 21st. He would die 118 days after his birthday. Here's that number again for death, so common. What he was called, Ben Wilson. He was also called Benji Wilson. Ben Wilson has the same gematria as Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan equals 113. Kobe Bryant equals 113. Kobe Bryant also equals 41 the small way. These are special numbers to the gang, important numbers to the Freemasons. He was born in 67. Remember, North Carolina equals 67. Blood sacrifice equals 67. The same year, Jordan would come into the NBA, play for Chicago. This kid murdered in Chicago. His name, Benjamin Wilson Jr., his full name has gematria of 188, like Bavarian Illuminati, 71, like Catholic Church, 2 related Masonic organizations. His nickname, Benji, has gematria of 22, like basketball. And if you watch the movie Blue Chips, look at what number Anthony Hardaway wears, the high school top prospect in Chicago. He wears the number 22. I can't think of his character name, but if you do the gematria of it, it sums to 22. These numbers, very important to the gang, and it seems to me that they are breeding Manchurian athletes and sometimes ritually sacrificing them by the numbers. All part of a very sick, ongoing process. Michael Jordan would be drafted June 19th that year. June 19th, 1984, the year Michael Jordan came in the league. The same year or day Len Bias would die 3 years later. From the date Jordan was drafted until the date this kid died was a span of 156 days. When you write out 33, it sums to 156. Michael equals 33. Very special number. Again, Jordan out of North Carolina. This kid born in 67. I did a video before the NBA Finals started showing how the Akron, Ohio 20-year-old college basketball player dropping dead. I showed how he lined up for Cleveland, LeBron James. I said, just remember all this when the Cavs win the championship. This is all foreshadowing of what's to come. This ritual sacrifice by the numbers, it's been going on for decades. It's been going on for as long as pro sports has been around. It needs to be exposed. It needs to be stopped. These people are not being murdered in the way we're told. It's all part of ritual by the same tyrants who run these leagues and script them by the numbers. So RIP to these young men. Until next time.